Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all to the webinar organized today. So, before we begin with today's session, I would like to introduce you all to the eminent speaker of the day, Dr. Sonia Dua. Sonia is a doctor and is currently the global operating leader for Genpact. She has over 22 years of experience and has been with Genpact for over 15 years in various roles from operations to trainings across multiple geographies and verticals in banking and financial services, healthcare, and insurance as well. She is a Six Sigma Quality Green Belt certified and has extensive experience in project management, BPO setup, and engagements, in addition to setting up transitions, learning and development, and knowledge transfer practices for many client relationships across multiple verticals. She is also certified on human resource performance intervention from ASTD. With this, I would like to welcome you, ma'am, to today's session. I request you to please take it forward and share your valuable insights with our students. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thanks to you and Alpa for inviting me. Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon. Apologies for the delay of a couple of minutes, but I promise you we'll have an interesting 60 minutes. As long as you all agree to participate, I promise you no boring slides on a Sunday. I will not show you, it is not a death by PPT. I will try and make it more interesting. I will try and make it more realistic so that you get some tips to take away and less gyan so that it's applicable in your real life. That's one. Second, I encourage you all to please ask me questions. Okay, I've been a trainer for a very large part of my life and an operating leader. So you have a choice. Either you ask questions or I bring the trainer out in me and I ask you questions. So it's a simple choice that you all have. Yes. You want to put it on chat, you're welcome to put it on chat. You want to, get off mute. It's just, 30 to 35 of you. If you want to get off mute and ask a question, please feel free to do so. Okay. Do not hesitate in interrupting. If you want me to focus on something more, you want to debate something, please, let's go ahead and do that because that's the whole fun of this session. Is that okay? Do I have a commitment from all of you? Can I just get some head nods? Some hand raises, anything, yeah? Only 4 people are nodding their head because they're the only ones that have switched on their cameras. So we'll go with that. Fair enough. Okay, so I was introduced, my name is Sonia Dua. I've been working for a very long time, for donkey's years now. So I'm hoping that all of you also get to this stage. And you also are at a stage where you're telling somebody that you've been working for a very long time. In today's world, one of the most important things I would say, and I think the pandemic has also shown us, one of the most important thing is relationships. Yes? How many of us have missed our friends, missed our family because of all of this? We have, right? So look, I'm going to tell you the basic of this, and I'm going to tell you a story. I love stories. Okay, like I said, I've been a trainer for a lot of time in my life. I'm going to tell you a story, and I love these Zen stories. So one day, 4 monks, okay, were crossing a very, a philosopher's field. And it was night and it was cold. So they said, can we build a fire in your backyard? And he said, yeah, sure, come. His name was Higan. So they said, yeah, sure. So they started talking, and they started sharing. So he realized that all of them were very set in their ways. They had a very set structure in which they were thinking. So there was a very big boulder, a very big rock that was lying there. So he generally asked them, he said, you guys see that rock? He said, yeah. They all said, yeah. He said, where do you think that rock is? Inside your head or outside? Okay, that's a simple question. Is it inside your head or outside? So the monk said that we are Buddhist, and Buddhism says everything should be objectified and internalized. Yes? So this rock is inside our head. So he said, wow, your head must be really heavy carrying around that huge piece of rock. Yeah. So what does this tell us? It's very simple, and most of these stories are very simple. What does this tell us? This basically tells us that there is no one track of thinking. You have to make your own. Yes. And above all of this, above just, following whether, in this case, they just did not understand the Buddha's teachings. What they understood was Internalize, objectify. Because they internalized and objectified, that rock was inside their head. You cannot have a heavy head. Yes. So you have to understand. You have to understand it in letter and spirit, and you have to internalize it for yourself. Also, remember one thing above all: you cannot do away with your emotions. Okay, you cannot do away with your logic. And at the end of all of this, you're still a human being and you're going to be dealing with human beings. Okay. Now, the reason why I told you this story is really the last line that I said. We all think, oh my God, it's a client, I have to treat the client like God. I have to do this. Please remember, they're also human beings. They will respond to respect like you would. They will respond to empathy like you would. They will respond to you building trust like you would. They will respond to you being a human being like you would. You have to treat them like you would any human being. Yes, there are some basic rules and we'll just come and talk about those. Again, please use them as per your discretion because you also need to know your audience. All right. Now, out of, let's say 40 odd people on this call, all of you would have different personalities. I have a very different personality. All of us have different personalities. I cannot use a cookie cutter approach to say that I'm going to deal with all of you in the same way if I want to develop a relationship with you. Some of you may start by being, okay, let's see. Yes, let's see what she can deliver first. Okay, you have clients like that who will first look at how much of it you can deliver before they start trusting you. You will have to start building trust with them before anything else. There are some who will build the human relationship with you. There are many clients who look at the relationship before the product that they sell you. You will sit in many meetings where the client, a new prospective client, will actually talk about, we want to see if our cultures match. We want to see if we are able to build a relationship. Work is okay, we know you can deliver, but we want to see if there's a relationship that we can develop. Okay. Now it is the same logic that is applied to your house. I'm sure all of you have siblings, cousins. Yes. Can you treat all your siblings the same way? You can't. Yes. Some will do your bidding or do what you want them to do if you bribe them. Yes. Some will be mama's pet who will go and complain to mama about everything. You have to deal with them differently. Yes. And then there are some who are like, take me along with you. Wherever you're going, if you're going to a party or if you're going out, take me along with you and then I'll be okay. Yes. All different relationships. That is the same way that you look at customers. Please understand. Remember the Zen story. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. So are they. Okay. You have to understand a little bit of the culture of whichever country, whichever continent you're working with. You should know a little bit about the culture. You should know a little bit about your audience. Nowadays, with LinkedIn and with so much research available from Crystal and all of the others, it is very easy to know your audience before you get into a room with them. At least get to know their personality styles. So if there is somebody who's an alpha personality who likes to be the boss, I'm the boss. Yes. If you go and charging and saying, no, I can do this for you, I can tell you he's going to be, or he or she's going to be like, not going to work. Yes. You have to approach them differently. So that is one of the first things you need to understand. Know your audience. You have to learn about your audience before you get into it. That is one. Second, it's not always that the customer is right. I mean, if you go on net, you will see many memes where, made on customer service or made on customers ask. Yes. So the customer will want you to get the moon, but go through Pluto and Neptune. And while on the way, pick up something and get the moon. And oh, by the way, I'm just going to pay you for 1 liter of petrol. How does that work? It doesn't work. Yes. So, but that's reality of life. Okay. So sometimes your customers also need to be educated. Sometimes you also need to sit down and have a conversation with your customer. But please remember, all conversations should be factual, should be context based, should have a background. Go prepared. Don't just randomly get into a meeting and say, I want to talk to you. No, I want to talk to you because I want to solve these three things. Yes. Go in, show them the facts. Look, I've come across very few people in my life, very few. I have come across a few, but very few who will not listen to logic. If a customer sees that their business is getting impacted and there is something that you can do to help them with their business, there is no customer who will not listen to you. Okay. I'm going to take a pause here and see if anybody has any questions. You want me to slow down my pace? Are we doing okay? Yeah, everyone can hear me clearly? Okay. Okay, cool. I love the fact that I see so many women in this class. Oh, by the way, Alpa, I have to tell you this. I'm just, that just gives me the kick.
Wow,
Okay.
that's nice.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, great. So we've spoken about education. Now, the third part. You do not have to always say yes to everything that the customer says. That doesn't make you a good relationship manager. That does not build the best relationships. Okay. When a customer says jump, if the only question you ask is how high, then you're not adding any value. The customer will say, yeah, yeah, I like her or I like him. And that's it. And after that, it'll be like, nothing. Because you do not add any value to them. You have to bring a value proposition to the customer. Whatever you are delivering to them, whatever you are doing for them, there has to be a value proposition. It cannot be just because you're doing it. Okay. Also, a simple rule, in some cases, you might want to do this, and we do this for business. But in most cases, anything that comes from for free does not have a lot of value. So make sure that if you are delivering any value to your customer, or if there is something that you're doing for them, there is a plan that you show them, even if it's you investing. Okay, even if you are the one who's investing $100,000 or whatever money you're putting in, that's fine. Make sure they understand that there's money going in. Maybe you're not charging them, but it's a business call that you took. But make sure that you show it to them. You put it in there, you make a plan, a proposal, and follow it up with the value proposition. There has to be value that you bring to the table. Please remember, if you do not bring value to the table, there's only so much the customer will do for you. Okay. Now, and I know I jumped into this because I wanted to talk about the person and the personality relations. I do want to step back and talk about why is customer relationship important. We spoke about education, we spoke about personalities, we spoke about know your audience, but why? Why do I need to do this? Okay. Now, it's easier to retain old customers, and it is cheaper to retain old customers than to get new ones. In today's world, it's tough. Yes. If you have good client relationships, it also means that your word of mouth, your net promoter score, people referencing you are more, which means you can get more business. Also, please remember, people do move from business to business. If you have good relationships, then that relationship also carries to the new business that they go to, which is again you opening up a second business source for yourself. Okay, that's the second thing I would say. The third thing is you have to personalize the experience. Okay, if you're able to personalize it, if you're able to make them feel special, all of us have been to a restaurant or a hotel, right? We've all stayed at a hotel. If you find a letter with your name saying, welcome back, Ms. Dua, we've been looking forward to your visit. It's been a very long time since we've not seen you. And when you enter, somebody calls you and says, welcome back. I just wanted to make sure that you don't need anything. How does that make us feel? It makes us feel important. Yes, that's why knowing your customer is very important. It's very important to you for you to be able to know your customer. It's very important for you to be able to personalize. Okay. And when I say personalize, I will give this warning. I say this to my team like multiple times. I've said it over the years. I will say this to all of you. Please remember, you have to be friendly with your customer, but your customer is not your friend. Do not forget this basic rule. Never cross that line. You have to maintain that respect. You have to maintain the distance. You have to maintain a lot of things, and you may have to sacrifice a lot of things also. Okay, so be very friendly with them, but they're not your friends. Do not cross that line. At the end of the day, it has to be professional. It has to be what they want to do. Okay, and relationships should only be both-sided. Okay, I know in today's world it's very common to have one-sided love affairs and one-sided infatuations and one-sided this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, with the customer, that does not work. It cannot be one-sided. You have to allow them to lead the relationship and tell you how far they want to take it. There are some customers who will take it as far as inviting you home, in talking about their personal lives to you, telling you what they've done over the weekend and the holidays and so on and so forth. And there are some who will be like, oh, the weather is nice and it's getting very cold now and let's get back to work. That's okay. That person is not being mean. That's the person's personality. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. So you have to know and understand their psychology, please. You have to listen. Okay. Now, coming to the big word that I just said, listen. We do not do active listening. Listening is something that Indians are very bad at. We are very bad at it. Okay. Whether it is at home, we listen, but we don't hear, we don't understand. Okay. We do not do active listening. I think after the 6th or 7th standard, I think even the kids stop taking notes. So they stop active listening. Nobody does active listening in this country. Okay. You can ask anybody a question and they'll be like, huh? Call up any customer service. Call up any one of the customer service, Amazon, Vodafone, except for, I will say, American Express, because American Express does push their people to do that. Call up any customer service and tell them the story. What is your name, madam? They'll start from step 1. After you've told them the whole Ramayana, they will say Ramkonta, Sita Konthi. They keep going back to that stuff. What does that tell us? We don't listen. So that is something that you have to start practicing. Active listening is a virtue. Active listening is something we love, and most people in the boardrooms love to talk. There are very few who listen. And the ones who listen are the ones who will get some astute information. Listen, observe. Do speak. I'm not saying don't speak. You should speak. You should have a point of view. You should make your presence felt when you're in a boardroom. That's very important. Just being a mouse in the corner doesn't help. Okay? But opening your mouth too soon and letting people know that you don't have any depth is not such a smart idea. Okay? So please do active listening. And in a customer's case, what does active listening mean? Active listening means you listen to what they're saying and then you paraphrase what you've heard. Because a customer is most probably sharing a problem with you. Correct? If they have a problem, or even if they're sharing what their company's strategy for 2021 is post-COVID. What is their strategy? What is it that they want to do? If you do not listen carefully, you will never be able to pick up business ideas. How will you know what are their pain areas? How will you know what are their goals? And what can you do to help them deliver their goals? Most of us and this is something that I have seen over years. Most of us go into a boardroom already pre-decided and rehearsed about what we are going to say. It's very important about what we will say. My presentation is very important. My speech is very important. My time, my 10-15 minutes that I'm getting in front of the customer is very important. Actually, we are not important at all in that meeting. What is important is what the customer wants. I'm sure you all have gone through the communication skills on you understand and presentation skills, and you understand the story always belongs to the listener. The story never belongs to the person telling the story. And what is our mindset? It is me, 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 me. I don't matter in there. And the problem with that me, me attitude is when you go inside the room, you're not listening. You've already prefabricated everything. Again, you all know this, another Zen story. You all know the story about the cup, about the monk and the cup. Okay, I don't see a lot of people nodding their heads, so I'm going to tell you another story. So there is a disciple, a very learned guy who comes to a very senior monk, and he travels very far and climbs mountains and comes and meets. So he tells the monk that I want to be your disciple and I want you to train me. I want you to train me. He says, oh, you've come very far. Sit, let's have tea. Okay. So the monk puts in 2 cups and takes out a kettle and starts pouring tea. He pours the tea and the tea starts overflowing. And that disciple, jumps up and he's like, what are you doing? The tea is overflowing. He's like, yeah, exactly. Until and unless you empty your cup, I'm not going to be able to fill it for you. You've come here already with a lot of baggage, already with a lot of thought in your head. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything new. The same logic applies when you get inside a boardroom. Because you're so full in your head, because you've already pre-decided my 10 minutes, here is how I'll stand. Here is how I will posture. Here is how I will gesture. This is what I will present. On this slide, I will pause. I will ask a question. What happens? You forget to look at body language. You forget to look at their responses. You forget to look at what the customer wants. So one of the first things we all have to do is active listening. Please remember, and that's something you can practice within your own circles. I'm sure your teachers will be very happy if you practice active listening. They'll be very impressed if you all start doing active listening. But you have to, because then is when you paraphrase something for the customer. Always get a clarification. Always. And it's not necessary, by the way, you do it right then. Okay? Go back. Get your thoughts together. Put down a page. Go back to them, ask for a meeting and say, you know what? The other day, I heard you talking about these. This is my understanding of what your goals are, or this is my understanding of what your pain is. Is that correct? He or she says yes. And then you come to the next part of it. Okay. So you have done active listening, you have done paraphrasing, and then the next part that comes is the value proposition. Then you take a proposal, a value proposition, tell them. Now, to know all of these things, while we're talking about client relationship, please know and understand that if you do not know your company and your business well, okay, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for someone else, okay, you work for a big company, until and unless you know your products, until and unless you know your business, until and unless you also know what you're selling and what the nuances are, the customer is going to make out that you're very shallow. You have to know this. Otherwise, what will you do with the pain areas? Okay, we took it, we paraphrased. Okay, one of you came and said, oh, Sonia, we see that you have to cut cost. Yes, I have to cut cost. And what value did you add to me by paraphrasing the same thing that I already told you? Nothing. There has to be an and after that. Okay. And for you to be able to go in with that and, you have to have your domain. You have to know your product. You have to be completely aware of what is there out there that you are I won't say selling because we're talking about relationship. I don't want to go into selling because selling has it's that's a whole different animal. But what you're talking about, why did you come to them? Okay, so know your product, know your substance, know what you're going to tell the customer, know why you have recoded or why you have paraphrased their own problem for them. Okay, I'm going to take another pause. Any questions? I'm going to stop talking pretty soon, which means that I'm going to start asking you some questions if you do not already have a few for me. So choice is yours. Okay, are we all okay till now? I can only see a few people's faces because only a few cameras are on, but I'm hoping everyone's doing okay. Guys, if you have any questions, you can either put it in the chat or please feel free to take your Zoom off mute. I would love to hear your lovely voices and we can have a conversation about it. Yes? Okay. Are they usually this quiet or is it just because it's a Sunday afternoon and they can't just get on with it? Are they usually this quiet?
They are not. They'll. To be very honest, the session, the discussion is so, the topic what you have been discussing is so intense and so interesting. I'm sure they must be thinking something in back of their mind. It will come up later, and I also really don't want you to stop talking because it's really soothing to the ears and it's really wonderful listening you.
I appreciate that. Great, fantastic. But I will soon stop talking because I want to open it up to question and answer. Okay, I do want to have a discussion, and this is one of the reasons why I did not, get slides. I did not want to kill everybody by slides on a Sunday afternoon. That too, everybody would have hated me. So okay, let's talk about some of the other things. Okay, now once you have a relationship, till now we were talking about how you develop a relationship. Okay, now you've developed a relationship. It is also important to sustain a relationship. Yes, it is easier to get married. It is far more tougher to stay married. Okay, it is easier to fall in love. It is far tougher to stay in love. It's not that easy. Yes, the same logic applies here. It is a little easier to develop that relationship, but you also have to sustain it. And please remember, sustaining is not 1 or 2 years. I have client relationships that go back to 14 years now. And in some cases, I even now have personal relationships with them. They're more like friends, which is fine. They've moved companies, some of them, because they're much older to me. Some of them are looking at retirement, doing something else. But that's fine. That's like, it's taken 14, 15 years for us to get to the stage where there is enough trust, there is enough faith, there is enough connection. Okay. So it should not be a 1 or 2 people, it should not be a 1 or 2 year thing. It should be a far more long-term thing for you. Okay. Now, if you have developed a relationship, okay, what are some of the things that you have to do? One, first and foremost, you have to show gratitude. All of us like being thanked, right? If you call up, and I've only seen this with Amex, so I will take an example of American Express only. If you call up Amex, they will always say, thank you for calling us, Ms. Dua. Thank you for being a patron. Thank you for being, blah, blah, blah card holder for so many years. And blah. What does that tell me? That tells me, one, they know me, personalized. Second, it also makes sure that they thank me. Okay. Not that in this case it matters because they will still charge me the money on the credit card. So that thank you really doesn't have a lot of value. But we need to thank the customer because gratitude goes a long way. Okay. And you can show gratitude in many ways. Gratitude doesn't always have to be bowing and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. No, gratitude can be shown in many ways. Like I said, if you're doing a little investment for them, that's gratitude. You've been in business with us for so long. I do want to make sure that we do some investment. You have a problem, I'm going to show. That's gratitude too. Gratitude can be kind also. That's in kind. I'm doing some work for you. The other thing that you should never forget is empathy. You have to make sure that you continue. You do not lose the basics, guys. Remember the personalities. Now, there may be some people who you have understood do not work on empathy. They only work on basic principles. Okay? Everybody's a human being. Again, remember the first story, stone, in, out. Okay? It depends on your perspective of objectivity and subjectivity. Okay, at the end of the day, whether the person has the stone in or whether the person has the stone out, it's still a human being. You're still talking to a human being. Never forget that empathy with whatever is going on will go a long way. If somebody's had a tragedy in their house, if somebody's had anything that you know about, something good, something, please, a one-liner, that's all it takes. 30 seconds of your time means a lot to somebody because you thought of them and sent it to them. Yes, that's the same that applies to us, by the way. If we are going through a tough time and somebody sends us a note, and many of our customers will, because at the end of the day, again, they're human too, they respond to you. Okay, it will mean a lot to you. The other one is appreciate loyalty. If they've been with you for 5 years, if they've been with you 2 years, whatever it is, whatever is the time frame that you're looking at, you need to appreciate loyalty. Again, it could be thank you, it's been great that we're celebrating 10 years, celebrate it, show them that they matter to you. Or the other thing that you can do is in kind. Because we've been in business for so long, we want to put some money away as a fund so that any of the transformation that we are doing, we keep funding from this. That's also gratitude. That's also appreciating loyalty. Okay, appreciate loyalty. Then the most important, which comes back to active listening, is solicit feedback. Ask for feedback. Never assume. You know the breakup of the word assume, right? I'm sure every one of you have seen that. That's a funny breakup, but that's true. Never assume. Always solicit feedback. Talk to them time and again. I'm not saying every day. Please, every week, no. Every month, no. Maybe quarterly, maybe biannually. Depends on, what kind of a relationship you have, what kind of a customer they are. But take out time to solicit feedback. Go ahead, ask them. Is there anything that you think we can improve on? Is there anything we can do differently? It's okay. And again, do active listening. Do not just ask for the heck of asking. Ask because you want to take it away. Ask because you want to ultimately do something about it. Okay. The next thing, if you commit something, you cannot break a commitment. You have to go back and tell them if you're missing a time. Look, we're all human. Can timelines go away? Yeah, probably once in a while. Yes. Okay. But you have to go back. You have to tell them and you have to give them a logic, apologize for it, and then come back and try and deliver on whatever you've committed next. Otherwise, what happens? If this happens to any one of us, what happens? We lose trust. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that you can lose with a customer, trust. And then you also lack consistency, that means. And if you do not have consistency, if your graph of relationship goes like this, okay, it probably like a ECG, yeah, it probably is not a good thing. Those waves in an ECG are very good, but those in a relationship, not that great. And that's because you lack consistency. You have to ensure that you have consistency. If you have consistency, look, if there are 10 instances, 9 of them you've been consistent. If that one you go back and apologize, they understand it has to be genuine. If she's coming back to me or he's coming back to me and this time saying, I'm not going to be able to meet it, it is genuine. Why? Because there is trust, there is consistency. Yes? And the most important thing, there is relationship. Okay. I've been running operations for many years, right? And I've been involved with business for many years across. Did all my business setups go beautifully? Oh, hell no. I have had it's been like the ECG, some good, some bad, some good, some bad. Happens. Life is never consistent. Okay. Are all my relationships in the same way? No, they're not. But wherever you have a good relationship, I'll tell you one thing, even if your project, your operations, you have issues, like in COVID, when COVID hit us, when the lockdown happened, my businesses were not working from home. I had to get systems to my guys. And that meant that I would not be able to touch the customer's work for days. I wasn't able to. Okay. But all we had to do was pick up the phone and tell them. There was no noise, no escalation, there was no drama, there was nobody calling me and saying, Sonia, your customers calling and complaining. They're not going to my CEO and their CEO going to my CEO and saying, what nonsense, this is not happening. That happened in a few businesses, by the way. Within our world, it has happened to a few businesses. Okay. In spite of people knowing it's COVID, in spite of people knowing it's a lockdown, customers are customers, they don't care. But wherever we have a relationship, it didn't happen. Again, why? Because everybody is human at the end of the day. It's like having a neighbor, right? If you have good relationships with your neighbor, and even if your children, your dog, or anybody goes out, creates a mess, has their toys littered around, or you go break one of their flower pots. If you have a relationship, it's okay. If not, there, you will have an interesting Sunday. Same logic applies. Yeah. Okay. The next one, actually, wait, I'm going to take a pause here. Any questions? Anybody has any questions?
One of the student has question, ma'am. Her name is Pinky. She has written how to maintain LinkedIn professional connection.
How to maintain? Explain, Pinky, get off mute and tell me what do you mean.
Ma'am, like professional connection, like every day, good morning, something talk to every day, yeah, in a weekly to maintain professional connection.
So, nobody in today's world has the time for that good morning every day,
Yes.
not even in a week. So one of the things, and Pinky, I'll answer your question in this way. One of the things we also need to remember, respect their time. You have to respect their time. Okay. Just because that is the only client for you doesn't mean you're the only job that they have to do. Okay. So yeah, this good morning and good night, that's not very professional. I would say speak to them when you've set up a meeting, when you have something. Look, when you develop a relationship, you'll get to the stage where a customer will say, oh, can we chat on WhatsApp? Perfect. Use that opportunity. Then you have the relationship where whenever you have a question, you can chat with them. But again, I will warn this. You remember I made a statement? You have to be friendly with your customer, but they're never your friends. You do not do this good morning, good evening. Not even once a week. Why should you do it once a week? Their time is important, right? So is yours. If you show them that you have nothing else to do, what does that say about you? That does not speak very highly of you as a professional leader, right? So I would say no. You should get into this. You should talk to them when you have an agenda, when you have set up time. And the second thing is, if there is, you would have written an email, you would have invited them to a meeting. Invite. Start a cadence. Do it regularly. Do a regular cadence with them. Look, like I said, everyone has different. I have some customers I speak to only once a quarter. Yeah, I have my VPs and my leaders who speak to them for more frequently. And there are some that I speak to, every fortnight, every 15 days. Depends on the relationship, but I wouldn't do the good morning, good evening, good night with anyone ever, even if you're on WhatsApp. Use it very discreetly. Okay. Okay. Anyone else has any questions? Otherwise, I want to just talk about one more topic and then I promise you I'm going to keep quiet. Neha, you can get it off mute and ask me the question, my dear. Okay, what is her question? Neha refuses to get off mute, so I will read the question. How to maintain most challenging sales project? How can we deal with the problem and overcome them? Any techniques that can build a good engagement with the client? My dear girl, the last one whole hour was only about building engagement with the client. So until and unless you have a very specific question, I think the last 1 hour, this is exactly what we've discussed. Okay, Neha, you want to explain, talk a little on what is your exact question?
Ma'am, I wanted to know the techniques to deal with the clients for getting the sales.
I'm still not sure if you can explain the question to me, because that's exactly what we've been discussing for so long, right? How do you
Yes, ma'am. But there are some clients that don't come in our means. If we explain, they do refuse to do that. So, if there are any techniques to actually deal with the sales.
So Neha, I had mentioned this point, and I'll talk a little bit more. So that's a good question. Let me talk a little bit more if that's where you all are going. Um, most people will respond to logic. Okay, most people will respond to data. It is very difficult to refute data. It is very easy to refute anecdotal stories. Very difficult to refute data. If we ever come across a customer, and all of us come across those customers, trust me, one, you need to know the personality. I still say at the end of the day, you're dealing with a human being. Okay, you will know the personality types. You will know whether somebody is data driven, somebody still thinks of you as a salesperson. Okay, most of us are very wary of salespeople. Do you come across as untrustworthy? You have to do all of this. You have to look at all of this. That's one. So personality of the customer, introspection that you need to do about the relationship. The third thing is, how are you explaining it? You have to explain it like you would explain it to a 10-year-old. Get your data down. Get everything in scope. And again, we may be wrong, okay? It's okay. We made a mistake. Go and say, we made a mistake. This is our error. It happens. You work with people. At the end of the day, we all work with people. Can people make an error? Yes. Admit it. Do not go making excuses for it. Because if you're at fault and you go making excuses for it, all you're doing is you're distancing yourself from that relationship and that person. You're never going to get the solution that you're looking for. If it's our error, go admit it. Say, yes, we made a mistake. And here are the 3 things we are doing to fix this. What is the plan? Remember value proposition? That value proposition in this case, when we made a mistake, is my plan of action to solve it. It could mean an investment from you. Yes, it could mean that you're putting in some money. It could mean you're putting in extra people. It could mean you're putting in extra resources. It could mean you're giving them something in place of that for that timing. It could mean all of the above. Okay, but if you're at fault, admit it, apologize, show a plan of action. If you're not at fault, if they are being unreasonable, explain the data, show the data, show the factual data, tell the story like you would to a 10-year-old. Please never assume that the leadership knows everything that is happening at the ground level. They don't. So sometimes it's the leader who's coming very strongly at you because he or she has heard stuff. There is anecdotal stuff. Somebody passing by mentioned, oh, there's been a huge error. Oh, this project is not going well. Okay, I hear you. It's not going well. here is the data for the last 6 weeks that we've dealt with you. Here are the reports we've been sending you. Here is the positive feedback that we've been hearing. We never got this feedback before right now. So can somebody tell me what's not going well? Because it's not going well. It's not a job I do. Tell me what's not going well. But before you ask that question, make sure you know your data very well. Make sure you know your details very well. If you have messed up, I honestly believe, and I've believed in this for all my life. Bite the bullet, stand there, say, oh yeah, it's a mistake. Nobody kills you for admitting it's a mistake, yeah. Nobody fires you for it. Okay. Neha, slightly long answer, but I hope you got some pointers out of this.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will just, take a minute maybe to talk about one more thing. Before all of you get into this, how I want to build a relationship and what kind of a relationship manager do I want to be, or what kind of a manager do I want to be for that matter. Please sit down and think about your brand. What is your personal brand? Do you want to build your relationships? And I'm sure you all have done this exercise of building brand and, write it down. What would you want to build your brand on? We do it as part of a lot of our diversity workshops also. Sit down and think about what your brand is. How do you want your customer to perceive you? What's important? Do you want your customer to perceive you as someone who is soft, comes easily, slowly, takes it easy? You want your customer to perceive you as loyal, as trusted. It could be any of those. There are multiple other things, okay? I'm not going to list down all. But it is your personality, and you have to decide what your brand is. And each one of you will have a different brand because each one of you is unique. So my suggestion is, before you think about how I want you to do this, sit down and think about what kind of a brand. What is it that you want people to talk about you or your customers to say about you 5 years, 10 years in the relationship? Respectful, loyal, trustworthy, problem solver. There are multiple things, correct? Yes. So I would recommend that's an activity you all take back. Whenever you're sitting down, sit down, think about what's your brand. What kind of a manager do you want to be? And therefore, what kind of a relationship do you want to build? Okay, cool. I think that with this, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to open it up to questions, to thoughts, to debates. Ishita is smiling because Ishita is like, somebody ask a question or she will. Yes, Ishita, I will. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for anybody who wants to talk about anything else, any questions you have, guys. No? Okay, so I gave you all a chance. Look, I was being nice by giving you all a chance. Nobody had a question. So, okay, let me ask this. Have you come across any customer who fits the profile of somebody who leads by relationship and then by business? Let's talk about that first. Anybody? Have you ever come across a situation like that? And it doesn't have to be a customer in business. Please remember, we have relationships also. At the end of the day, we're all human. It could be any one of your relationships. Mom, dad don't count. Mom, dad always lead by relation. Okay, they always lead by that. So they don't count. Anyone else that you know where, it's been lead by relationship and you are not the lead by relationship person, you wanted to be professional or you wanted to maintain a distance, because it happens. That is a personality clash. Then what do you do? Because that means your EQ is far lower, your emotional quotient is far lower than the other person's emotional quotient. The other person is emotionally high and you're emotionally low. Yes? What do you do in such a situation? Come on, I gave you all a chance to ask questions. You didn't. So now I'm asking somebody else to answer. Come on, guys. Otherwise, this is going to be an extremely boring session. It's all just one-sided. Somebody, anybody? No? Okay.
We would like to pick anybody, ma'am, and any student.
Can I do that?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm going to pick somebody whose video is off because I can see the expressions, at least of the ones that see. Ishita is so happy. All I can see, Ishita has just had a blast. Ishita and Pinky are like, phew, thank God. Okay. Rohan Shah. Sorry, I'm just picking on you, Rohan. Rohan, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Hey, you got my question? Should I repeat the question?
You can.
Sorry, say that again.
Can you repeat it?
Can I repeat the question? Okay, sure. So my question is, have you ever come across a situation where your emotional quotient, your EQ, is lower than the person in front of you, could be a customer, could be anybody, whose EQ is high, which means that person is more emotional and wants to lead by relationship, and your EQ is low. Have you ever been in a situation like this? And if you have, what do you do?
So not been in any situation like this.
Rohan, I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time understanding you. Say that again.
Not in any situation like this.
That's okay if you have not been in a situation. I'm giving you a situation. What would you do? Anybody wants to help Rohan out? Okay. Divya, you want to help Rohan out, answer this question?
Ma'am, actually, I had come across a employee wherein I was into recruitment. There I came across an employee whose EQ was higher than mine. So as you said that uh, the clients are friends, but you cannot treat them like friends. So at that very moment, I realized this and I had put this thing into action.
So you started maintaining your distance and keeping it professional.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, okay. Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing that. So guys, usually if, if you come across a situation like this with a client, so Divya was fortunate, it was an employee and, she was hiring. But if you ever come across a client where their EQ is higher and your EQ is lower, you have no choice but to up your EQ. Okay, because it's you have to somewhere try and match the EQ. Now again, I'm not saying you go all out and start sending them fruit baskets every day. No, that's not what I mean by upping your EQ. Okay, what I mean by doing that is that if they want to lead with relationship, you will have to write down their children's names and write down their how many people they have in their family and so on and so forth. And if you have many customers like I do, I have a whole chart section and I'm very bad with faces and names. I don't remember these things. So I remember dates and numbers, but I don't remember names and faces. So I have a whole separate chart out where I have written who is who and who has how many children and what age they're, because I don't remember. That's a fact. Okay. So you will have to do that. So if you are the one with the lower EQ, you have no choice but to try and get to that level. Again, at least get the information so that you can speak to them personally. You can personalize your conversations, because remember, you're still dealing with a human being. Okay, cool. I think we just have a couple of more minutes. So if anyone else has any last questions, any comments, anything that you want to share, please feel free to. Otherwise, we're almost on top of the hour. This time the people with videos on can also speak, Ishita. Since Ishita and Pinky were the happiest when I said I'll ask somebody who's not on camera. Okay, cool. Guys, any questions, anything, any comments? Anybody has a view that is different, please feel free to chime in. Okay, that's a really quiet group. I wish my team could see this. My team is never this quiet. Okay, good. Yeah, yes, Pinky, go ahead,
Can
please.
I Hindi? Speak in Hindi.
Speak in any language you want, my dear.
Ma'am, currently I'm internship some company, so that work there, काम किया कुछ समय, तो मुझे कुछ unique ideas आए to improve that company situation, whatever. I was just sharing some person in the company, say, so they don't react that much. So how to do?
They don't
Means
react
idea
that.
था, but yeah, ma'am.
Tell me again, what do you mean by they don't react that much?
मीन्स आइडिया था, शेयर किया उनके साथ, उनकी कंपनी को कुछ मीन्स बेनिफिट मिले, मुझे लगा कि आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है, उस कंपनी में काम भी किया, उसके लिए सोचा, बट उन्होंने कुछ अप्रिशिएट नहीं किया। मीन्स अगर कुछ नहीं तो कुछ बताते कि या इस तरीके से इम्प्रूव करो या गुड आइडिया या कुछ, मीन्स रिस्पॉन्स नहीं दिया, तो डिमोटिवेट होते हैं ना। मीन्स लाइक मेरे को लगा फिर के आइडिया अच्छा नहीं है, मे बी माइंड। तो
Okay. Pinky, motivation is so okay. I'm going to tell you guys another story, so I'll just tell you what. So motivation is inside your head. Okay. Just the same way we say now that nobody can make you feel small or make you feel big. It is all inside your head. The same way motivation is inside your head. If one person does not respond to your idea and you feel demotivated, then you need to sit down and think for yourself. I'm not going to blame that other person. Maybe that other person is not the right person. Maybe that other person is in a business situation where he or she is feeling threatened by taking your idea to the leadership. Okay. Maybe that person is not in a financial situation, or maybe the person knows that financially they cannot implement the idea. Okay. It could be all of the above. It could be more reasons. Yes. It could be just the person is nasty, doesn't want to take the idea. It's possible. Human beings, you don't know. He's having a bad day. Just didn't care. Yes. Doesn't matter. One. If you get demotivated by one person not listening to you, you're what, 25, 26 years old? You have another what, 30, 35 years to work? Please multiply that by the number of people you will meet and how demotivated you will be in life. It doesn't work like that. People should not be responsible for your motivation. Just the same way we say people should not be responsible for your happiness, that is yours. The same way, people should not be responsible for your motivation. If you get up in the morning and want to go to work, it is because you want to go to work. It's because you enjoy working, okay? And if you're ever in a situation like this, where there is an idea and somebody hasn't responded to, it's okay. Give it some time. Find the next level. Find the next forum. Find the next opportunity. And then don't burn bridges by saying, oh, I shared this idea, this person didn't take it along. No, say I have an idea. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to let go. Okay? Till you reach the situation or till you reach that level in the organization where you can actually take a panga, don't take a panga. Okay? The corporate world is not that easy. So be smart about it. Do not burn bridges like that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. Unless and until there are any last questions, Alpa, I think we should be good to wrap up. I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Guys, any questions? You can put it in chat box if in case. We are already, as we have been, we have been finished 1 hour session as of now. So if in case you can put it up or you can unmute yourself. So we're good to go. Okay, ma'am. So I take this opportunity on behalf of Vidyalankar School of Business to thank you for giving your time on Sunday. And this was one of the most interesting session in terms of stories and putting into a situation and explaining, because most of the sessions what we have, they're all presentations, though they have been like good in terms of other aspects. But yes, when you could relate something with your personal experience and put them in a role play, that's there in your mind forever and that lasts forever. We have been seeing you telling that trust, faith, and value proposition and empathy, sympathy, attitude. We all know that the words are not unique, but how and when to use it, that's more important, and then that comes from the people who have already been experienced in the phases of life. And people like you, when this then they bring this on table and share your experience, it is excellent. And even we are learning at this age, and I'm sure we will keep continuing our relationship building like this forever. We would like to have furthermore collaborations with you as well in terms of learning with students and many more other activities. So thank you so much,
I
ma'am.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you joining this session and spending so much time on a Sunday afternoon. Alpa, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been fun. And I wish you all the best, all of you, all the best for whatever you plan to do in the future.
Thank you so much. Your blessings
Thank you,
really need
ma'am.
that. Thank you.
Take care. Stay safe, everyone.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.